The Twins love to toy with fans' emotions. Yes, they scored 10 runs and beat the Athletics for a second straight night. Yes, Willi Castro hit 2 home runs. Will Brandon repent? Yes, Royce Lewis had 3 hard hit balls and a 2-run double. Yes, Jorge Alcala pitched 2 clean innings, struck out 4, reached 100 miles an hour on the gun. But no, Pablo Lopez walked off the field with the athletic trainer after sustaining a lat injury. What now? Well, you just got to get Locked On Twins.
You are Locked On Twins, your daily Minnesota Twins podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Locked On Twins, your daily go-to source for the top Minnesota Twins insight, discourse, and analysis, and hand-wringing. Personally, it's my favorite show of the Imperial Locked On Podcast Network, which, by the way, brings you your team every day. No takebacks. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe where applicable. I'm Dave Brown, an MLB writer who's never been in good enough shape to strain a lat. I'm also a BBWA member and a Hall of Fame voter. Across the Great Plains of cyberspace is Brandon Warren. Sorry to repeat this joke, but he once strained himself in the checkout line at Poshmark. So, Brandon was a Twins fan who became a Twins writer, and now he's both. You can find more of our work soon at Access Twins and Zone Coverage. On the show today, Pablo Lopez has a strained lat, and we don't know how bad it is. It could be 2 to 3 weeks. It could be longer. Is this going to be like Joe Ryan's Terry's major injury? It's a similar and nearby muscle. The Twins will tell us when they know, or maybe like long after they know. I don't know. I feel like they always give us some lag time on that. The lineup had some trouble with left-hander Jacob Lopez, but they eventually got to hacking and scored 10 runs against A's pitching for a second straight night. Willi Castro hit 2 home runs. It was his second multi-homer game of the season, and I believe the Twins' second multi-homer game of the season. Royce Lewis, coming out of his soft reset, maybe, he hit the ball hard all night, and he even had something to show for it in the box score with a 2-run double. Is Royce back? Jorge Alcala also seemed to repair himself with 2 clean innings of dominant relief. Hey, Brandon, I messed up again. Is there a commercial read?
Let me take care of it by telling you all that this episode is brought to you by Rocket Money. Nope, sorry, Monarch Money. I had the wrong money. I'm going to have to edit that out. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at Monarch Money for 50% off your first year.
All right, we're not going to just let you talk for the ads. You can talk about baseball too. So I just messed up my script there. So thank you.
It happens. It
happens again. It happened again for the second straight day.
I got confused because they won't let us switch the sides of the screen that we're on. So it's a little weird.
Sure. That's exactly right. That isn't why, but thank you. All right. So we are counting the hours or minutes or whatever until we find out about Pablo Lopez's injury. Rocco said something yesterday at the game. He's like, after the game, he's like, we're going to get an MRI, but we might not know anything tomorrow either. So don't be too aggressive about how you ask. That's how I read that. But so we might not find out today exactly how long Pablo is going to be out, but it is going to be an IL stint of some kind. It's not like a rotator cuff, so that's good. It isn't yet something like what Joe Ryan had last year that cost him the end of the season. It's not an elbow, obviously. It's by his shoulder and his back. The latissimus dorsi, who I think was a pretty good running back for the Packers in the 90s.
I thought that was Dorsey. I thought that was one of the guys who had 1,000 yards for the Broncos. In
either or,
yeah.
So I just thought it was the Twins have been kind of doing this lately, where they like the last Joe Ryan start was very. It was like a fun game, and then all of a sudden Joe Ryan is like forgets how to pitch in the middle of the game. And I thought that was an emotional swing, but this was really an emotional swing when Pablo goes out there, he tries some warm-up pitches, and he's like, "Oh, this ain't working," and then he walks up the field with Nick Paparesta. So Paparesta don't preach. But so it's we're going through some emotions right now without possibly having Pablo around, and it's not fun. Brandon,
Yeah. I mean, we've all talked about, let's get David Festa back up here. This is not how you want it to happen. And it's not even certain that it would be him. It could be Simeon Woods Richardson, who just so happened to pitch yesterday. And as you noted in a separate conversation, not all that well. But if Festa's not where they want him to be as far as, preparedness to go theoretically 5 innings, then it might be Sim. But yeah, a couple of weird games. And I think that it just goes to show, first of all, where the A's are right now. Actually, where the A's are right now, both in terms of how they're playing and in terms of where they're playing, because that ballpark has played insanely friendly for offense, and the Twins have been the one to take more advantage of it. They finally got Lawrence Butler out, which was good to see. And then he also had a hustle double where he, they're down 6 runs and he nearly gets thrown out at second base. I don't know. I mean, I guess I understand the risk because he thought he'd be safe, but just a weird couple games, unsettling from a pitching standpoint. That, I mean, most importantly, Lopez being hurt, but second of all, Ryan just kind of being out of sorts, and you hope that doesn't bleed into any subsequent outings. So it's the first time all year they've scored double-digit runs in back-to-back games. It's the first time they've done it against the same team since doing it to the Angels last year, early in the season. They did do it again later in the year, but it was separate series. Yeah, so I mean, maybe we're seeing the offense going, starting to see some offensive numbers for guys like Trevor Larnach look pretty good for the season. Willi Castro, no further questions on that one, please. And Byron Buxton just kind of doing his thing too. So Carlos Correa looking better. I don't believe the idea that offense is contagious necessarily, but it certainly is nice to see a bunch of guys get going at around the same time.
Love to see another example of Buxton's athleticism and aggressiveness and baseball smarts, taking the extra base on a throw to second. Love to see him get excited about that. It was that was great. But back to Lopez for a second. It just, I'm not a doctor and I don't play one on TV. I don't think this is going to be as bad as Joe Ryan's issue. I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
And I went through those other, not to rehash it, but it's not an elbow and it's not this and it's not that, but it does kind of remind everybody how fragile starting pitching is. Nobody prepares harder and better than Pablo Lopez. He did at one time in his career have shoulder issues, including a rotator cuff issue, going back, I think you said, between 4 and 7 years ago. He had those issues with the Marlins.
He was a different built guy then too. I mean, so many things have changed. He was a big, sturdy guy back then and has really thinned out, really leaned out. And so, yeah, I thought you were saying I've been going through the, various stages of grief, I thought you were going to say about the after effect of this Lopez thing. At least we're not in the Lopez thought he'd make his next start, the Twins didn't agree era, because I think it's pretty cool he's going on the IL today. And
no, but that does sort of touch on what I was thinking, that nobody prepares better and is in better shape than Pablo Lopez. And he's prepared for a full season. And yet something like the hamstring comes up, this issue with the lat. It's just the nature of pitching that makes them so fragile. And what you hope for is a situation where this doesn't happen. This team goes to the playoffs and something like this doesn't happen then. That's basically how you hope to get through a season. It's not even necessarily getting through how we're going to get through the 162. We're going to assume that they're going to get through it and be in the playoffs. Well, I am. But what is going to be the state of the roster when you try to win the World Series? So it's a reminder that, it's all on a knife's edge. And like, no matter how well you prepare and how deep the team is and how deep the organization is and who you might have to come up, you never know when something stupid's going to happen that isn't your fault and knock you down.
That's
just,
baseball, Susan.
It's a frustrating existence. I guess that's pro sports to a certain extent, but
I mean,
definitely baseball.
It is when you see fans, and not fans that are maybe as like fanatical about like keeping up with things. Well, why didn't they do this and this in the off season? One, you have a foundational 40-man roster that you can't just keep adding players to in hopes that someday you can use them when you need them. It's not like, should have, like, you'll see someone say, should have addressed the bullpen more for the Twins. And it's like, how? Literally, how could you have done that? The one guy that is movable at all is Jorge Alcala, and he has to consent to be optioned. That sort of like criticism just it probably gets on my nerves more than it should. It's baseball. It's 162 games of pure madness, and it's a war of attrition in so many ways.
It really frosts your patoot.
Yes.
And we don't want to frost anyone's patoot that we don't need to. So we're going to take our commercial break right now and then come back and talk more Twins baseball.
Check in the pantry. Well, we got to talk about Monarch money, because if you are like everybody else and you have checked your bank account and wondered where all your money went, it could be gone between dining out, online shopping, entertainment, all of that. It's easy to lose track, and that's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center where you can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. There are surprising insights that you might find too. Like when I started using it, I realized how much money I was spending on food delivery. Now, I'm a little bit smarter about that. Now I do food delivery from a grocery store rather than a takeout place, that sort of thing. Just managing your money a little better, and every small bit counts, and Monarch Money can help you with that. And the easy collaboration, managing your money with your significant other, is so much easier. You just add all the accounts in there. You can see what's coming, what's going, and it helps you stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com, and you'll get 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB, and you'll get half off your first year.
Locked On Twins has returned. We were talking Twins baseball. I mean, who knew? We've been discussing Pablo Lopez's injury. We don't know how long he's going to be out. We might not even find out today. He's going to get an MRI, but then they got to send it to their doctors, and they got to, the Twins are not in Minnesota, so there's some communication back and forth going on there. So I don't know if we're going to know today how long he's going to be out, who's going to come up. You would think the Twins do like to take advantage, so to speak, of these situations and bring up some relief pitcher from the minors, maybe. So maybe I don't know who that would be. Andrew Morris. I don't know. It would be.
That was my thought. Either that Andrew Morris or because they already have Thunder Down Under up. So I mean, it's starting to dig into like guys who have not been up yet this year, or maybe not at all. Marco Raya. The way they've handled Raya has been interesting because he hasn't been particularly good, but he's on the 40 and he's got good stuff. So I mean, it could be. Who else is there? Travis Adams is another option. We haven't seen him yet. I could see that being the case. I don't know. Could they also? I mean, if there's any 60 movement that they could do, I don't think there is. Coulom's not going on the 60, and they already have Tonkin. Who knows where he might factor into this? Maybe at some point if he ever stops having setbacks. But it wouldn't shock me, I guess, if Travis Adams came up. But we'll see, because they're not going to need the rotation spot for a few days, at least not until they're back home against Toronto this weekend. So, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I think it would make a ton of sense to have someone up here and help out, and maybe just for a few days, and then Festa comes up and takes the rotation spot.
I like how when you mentioned Willi Castro before, you sort of brushed it off as if we weren't going to talk about it a little bit more. We're like, no more questions about that. But yeah, we're going to talk about Willi Castro.
Yeah.
He's he's one of the guys in the team that I think people have like outsized expectations for. I think that's part of the issue. I think and some of that is because of how much the Twins have used him in the last couple of years, probably overused him. Rocco even admitted to overusing him last year. I mean, out of necessity, I suppose. But as a role player, as a guy who fills in here and there and everywhere, he's not going to produce like we would expect a Buxton or a Correa or somebody like that. But he is going to be a guy that can get hot at times and is very valuable to have. And I'm just glad he's on the team. I think he's Tom Kelly's favorite player. He's Rocco's favorite player. I'm not saying he's my favorite player, but he's a very valuable, useful guy. And it is kind of funny that he's the one that has the multi-homer games. I don't know like how much everyone would expect that, but it is. Hey, do you think? Let's pivot for a second on this. Is he a success story with Borg Schulte finally getting through to him and Larnach looks like he's starting to hit more?
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm very impatient with Larnach and often underwhelmed. He's kind of my Willi Castro, but are we seeing some headway because of that? Maybe
44th career home run for Larnach. Guess how many of those have come off lefties? I bet you you'll
43 or
no,
one.
4. So
okay.
It was a bit of a shock. Yeah, those could be your 2 case subjects that would be in his favor, and you fired him already, Borgerschlett.
I did.
So you know what? You're 0 for 1 on this one, and I'm 0 for 1 on Willi. In the 6 games since I tweeted that he has been unimpressive to me, he has slashed 435. That's his average. 536, and he slugged 1,000. He has 10 hits, and 4 of them are home runs. He's taking walks, not striking out that much. He's not swinging at everything. And I want to look and see, because I have the ability to do this in real time. His OPS sits at 803 right now. Since that dreaded day that I said that, his OPS was 653. It's gone up 150 points exactly. So you're welcome. What can I say except you're welcome?
Do you remember exactly what it was that set you off?
I just got sick of watching him swing at everything. I don't know. I felt as though he gets up there and he gives away the first strike or the first 2 strikes way too easily, way too often. And, I see some of that from Harrison Bader too. Like, he had a plate appearance where it was he had 3 balls and I think it was 3-1, and it was a cutter from Lopez, who they had trouble with. Like, we don't have to beat around the bush there. But the ball started inside and then cut, and I very nearly hit him, and he swung through it. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, yes, I understand being aggressive 3-1. We get kind of caught up in a 3-0 auto take or whatever. But when the ball's not in the strike zone for like any of the trajectory home, that to me is like, okay, well, what was the plan? What was your thought process here? And that's where Bader to some extent and Castro to another extent, they just kind of frustrate me. And maybe I'm just more of I like to see guys who like to walk, who like to work counts. And that's probably just a me thing more than anything else.
What a strange outing. I don't know how to, not that we are locked on A's, but how to evaluate Jacob Lopez, because he had 9 strikeouts and he was, 91 or whatever. It reminded me of like a guy that would have been in the Twins rotation like 12 years ago. Just kind of, not a slot baller, but because he's got a funny arm angle. I'm sure the pitch looks faster than it appears because of how it's coming in. But then also 3 home runs allowed. So it's difficult to it's a little difficult to evaluate him or Twins hitters, honestly.
We were
because
deprived
I don't
of
know what we're
Lopez.
getting.
We were deprived of Lopez versus Lopez when they didn't start him too, which was certainly upsetting. I do have a fun little fun fact. But with Willi's home run, he became the first. Sorry, not the first Twin, but I thought I had it more handy here. 8 players in MLB who have multiple homers from both sides of the plate. Willi Castro, Cal Raleigh, Tommy Edman, Jose Ramirez, who is not underrated, Jonah Heim, Francisco Lindor, Ellie De La Cruz, and Brian Reynolds. So fun little 8-pack there.
Yeah, for sure. But you mentioned and I guess we both did, the strangeness of this ballpark. Mm-hmm. There was Buxton had another encounter with the warning track yesterday because the warning track is so wide that it appeared that it messed with him. He didn't know when to jump at the fence because there's only, typically the warning tracks, there's not like a uniform, but it's kind of a uniform.
Said that. He said that too. Like I was thinking it was uniform, and he actually went ahead and said it. So if he's listening, that's awesome. But yeah, it's not uniform. They're kind of at your own whim, and you just get used to it.
But this track in this ballpark at Sutter Bad Mental Health Stadium is very wide, thick, if you will. And both players for both teams, it isn't just the visitors, but there have been multiple people on both teams that haven't really known when to jump at the fence. Like, am I there yet? I don't know. And it's cost some outs. They would have been nice plays, and then there was also the play at first base with Brooks Lee, where the A's were just falling all over themselves and they couldn't tag the bag. And they were like, I don't think Lee ever touched first on his way by.
No,
but because there was no way to touch first because they were like falling over each other trying to tag the bag, and they were calling for a replay. And then the replay was like, it was very obvious that nobody did anything right on the replay. Like, why would you call attention to that?
A's, if I was Borrego, I would have been like, Brooks, get back to the base and touch it quick before they realize you haven't.
I don't even know. There are some weird, quirky rules with that too. Like, I don't know that. I think once there was like a window for them to have Lee out at first base, and it passed. And even if they had like tried to say that he didn't touch the base, I don't think there's any way that the umpires even mistakenly could have not given it to him, because they didn't let him touch the base.
They made no
effort.
Yeah, you'd call obstruction.
Yeah. I think. I don't know. It's a weird ass ballpark. All right, we're going to take our final break and come back and talk more Twins. We have Royce Lewis coming up, not in the studio or anything, but we're going to talk about him and Jorge Alcala as well.
Well, if you're looking to get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades, you're looking for Supply House. Whether you are in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order your products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400-plus brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. And if you need help with an order, Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage, and now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5. That's Sam Henches 5 for 5% off your first order. That is supplyhouse.com.
Sam Henches, a teammate of that Jose Ramirez guy, that up and comer for the Guardian.
Minnesota, Mounds View, Minnesota native, I might add. And I've been boning up on my SH references. We got a Seth Halverson will drop in there. He went to the same school that my daughter goes to, so that's pretty cool.
Oh, really? Yeah. Rockies. I don't know if he's a closer, but he's a guy.
What is it called when you're closing on a team that's won 10 games? I did make a joke like Ryan McMahon going over to Bo Nix and being like, "Hey man, congrats on 10 wins," and then Nix being like, "Don't worry, man, you'll get there."
That's pretty funny.
I stole it. It's Seth Curry and Stephen Curry and Mike Trout. Congrats on 70 wins, man.
Wow. It's mean. It's mean. That's very Twitter mean of you.
Yeah.
Royce Lewis was 0 for 32, and then he hit a double off the fence with the bases loaded. Just missing a grand slam.
And he walked before that.
And he walked, and he hit 3 balls, hard hit. He had 3 hard hit balls. He had a 100-mile-an-hour double, and he had 2 other ones that were over 95 miles an hour, 97, something like that. Good sign. It's been a kind of a soft reset. I don't know what they're really doing with him. I don't know if they know what they're doing. I don't know if they know what to do, but maybe this is going to work. They dropped him in the lineup to 9th, then they dropped him to 10th, then they dropped him to 13th, and now he's back, I guess. And it would be really good for the Twins, no kidding, if he were hitting well. And I don't know, sort of like we don't know what's going to happen with Pablo Lopez. We don't know what's going to happen with Royce Lewis either, but it was nice to get him on the board finally.
I tell this story every now and then, and it was in 2013, and it was like my first month of covering the Twins as a regular gig, and Gardy goes, "You don't walk your way out of slumps, kid." And what I had asked him was, do you take any solace, do you take anything from Aaron Hicks walking, even though he's not getting hits? Like, is he still going to, and he goes, "You don't walk out of slumps, kid." I think that walk, especially the nature of how it was drawn, where it was, lots of pitches and spoiling pitches and just really seeming more comfortable up there than he has in a while. He did get a double the next time. I'm not saying I've already been kind of loud and vociferous about how I view momentum in baseball and what it means. And so I think it has different meanings for different things. But I think if that was the sign of him feeling more comfortable at the plate, and it kind of looked like it, then yeah, maybe a walk did help get him out of a slump. And that double, I mean, that was such a sight for sore eyes. And then his smile after. I mean, this is a guy who smiles. I'm sure he smiles while he's watching a scary movie. And he looked so like the world was the weight of the world was off his shoulders. And him swinging it at the right time, Willie swinging it at the right time, Larnach, then you've got Buxton, who's been pretty good for a bit now. Bader's had a really nice start to the season. It's starting to feel, and maybe it's blatantly obvious, they've scored double-digit runs the last 2 games. Like, the offense is starting to kind of knock the rust off, kind of, get rid of the cobwebs. It's starting to feel like a team that maybe has a chance to, say, "Hey, Detroit, you're not all alone in this thing. We're gonna catch up to you." And so I'm hoping that's the case, because that's what I believed all along. And boy, I had egg on my face to start the season.
Well, just make an omelet. That's what I would do.
Yeah.
So Royce, we don't know if the slump is busted, but the streak, the 0 for 32, that's over, and that's where you sort of have to start. I think there is something to what you're saying about how drawing the walk was a good indicator of things to come, because not just with Royce, but the many people throughout the lineup were having issues with how Jacob Lopez was approaching them and swinging at pitches that were out of the strike zone, and not just pitches out of the strike zone, but balls that are not good pitches to hit. You can, if you're looking away, you can go out of the strike zone and get a double to the opposite field or whatever. Right. That's not exactly what Lewis did, but not biting on the gimmicks that Jacob Lopez was trying to feed him is a good sign. I know Gardy's right, maybe, I guess, that you can't walk your way out of a slump, but if you're going to go up there swinging at anything,
yeah, that's
not gonna get you out of a slump either. In fact, that's how you stay in slumps. So I think there might be something to what you're saying.
And I think the way that Katse used the opener is exactly how it's designed. Like, you have a pitcher of one sort, whether it's a hard throwing righty, Ryan Stanek was a guy that got used that way a lot. And then you bring in a soft lefty. One, the lineup is set up to face one guy and not the other. Or even if you know who the other guy is going to be, you still get a different guy going through 1, 2, 3, maybe even 4 that first time. Hats off to Katse, who I was critical of about his handling with Severino. This was a perfectly sound strategy. It just blew up on him because the Twins eventually broke through.
I could just be a little bit of a contrarian or just trying to be different with this take. But my favorite, my player of the game in his own way, my low-key player of the game is Jorge Alcala. The last 2 innings were really good. They were clean. I believe he didn't hit anybody, did he?
Not intentionally. No, I don't think so.
But no walks, no hits, not a single luxury, not a hit batter.
That Chris Atterbury stat, did you happen to see? They said if he got the first hitter out or if the first hitter reached, the difference in his stats was like a 0 ERA and a 14 or something like that. Well, I was listening to the game when they were on Fox on Saturday because I didn't have to work the game. We're going to go over our time, and I'm not worried about that. But I was listening to it, and I thought, because remember, he came out and pitched, and everybody was all ticked off, and he'd been pretty good the last 5-6 outings. He had, he had more than a strikeout an inning. He's hitting good velocity. The walks were, a little higher than you want, but not life-shattering or earth-shattering. To hear Atterbury say that, I was like, wow, yeah, that's crazy. And then I just kind of put it out of my mind until it was on the TV on Tuesday night's game. And so obviously Provis or somebody on the Twin side was listening to Atterbury when they weren't doing a game because Fox had it. So yeah, that was furthermore confirmation that, like, keep the bases clean for Alcala and he's going to be just fine. And that's the exact kind of guy, if you're going to have a weak link in your bullpen, it may as well be some guy that comes in throwing 98, 99 miles an hour, chucking darts. And, if you need 2 innings to stay in a game or finish off a game, and that way you don't use Louis Varland or you don't use Brock Stewart or whoever, that's a valuable guy too. I like the take that he was player of the game, or like low. We should do that. We should do player of the game and then low key player of the game.
All right. But not low-key player of the game. That's a Marvel villain, Loki.
And not underrated player of the game, because then it would just be Jose Ramirez every game.
Who?
Don't get me wrong.
But Alcala was really, in a way that Royce Lewis was, he was actually even more excited for himself. He was pumped up getting that last out. It was good. He
stormed up.
It's a little like Willi Castro because they love him. They love him. They must because they see the stuff and they see the potential and they overlook the runs and the walks and the hit batters and all that stuff. Well, the bad outings. They love him, but he's also a little bit of Royce in that it's hard to figure out why he can't get going, or why can't he do that all the time?
Especially so obviously talented. He looked like a young boy when they were doing the Red Bull shots. He's like getting all excited. I love to see that because, again, like, at its heart, this is a child's game, and so these guys, like, the enthusiasm they have for it is very obvious when they do in fact have it. And by the way, I wanted to say, I was not trying to throw shade at Zach Meisel. I think he does a phenomenal job covering the Guardians. I just think that, he's the best kept secret or whatever in baseball. Is like, nah. And maybe if he is nationally known, it's because he's that much better than his teammates. Maybe that's not fair for me to say either. But honestly, I don't think he's underrated anymore. He's going to be a Hall of Famer.
And I swear, and I agree with you about Zach Meisel.
Tremendous.
He's one of the better writers out there. He does a good job covering the team for sure, and the sport in general. So I do feel funny when we criticize. It's like, well, I don't want to criticize the writer too much. I don't like this idea for a story because it's absurd. And also, I swear, haven't we written that before? Like last year or 2 years ago that he was underrated. It just seems like it's regurgitated from a previous life.
Yeah.
I don't know. I swear I've seen this theme, this meme, this meme before that Jose Ramirez is somehow underrated. It's like it won't die. And it's
The more you
this is
talk
not
about
gonna
it, the
help
more
that.
it becomes true, and that should be opposite.
Yeah. So, well, the more we talk about the Twins, the sooner we have to leave, or something like that. But we want to thank you for making Locked On Twins your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. So, for Brandon Warren, this is Dave Brown wishing you all a very pleasant good evening. The Twins series continues in West Sacramento. We'll talk more about it later, but until then, we'll have to Casilla tomorrow night. Very mellow tones. Do, do, do.